Hey, Dave.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. I had to run outside and move the basketball goal. The guys here are mowing the front.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay.
I ran outside, moved it back in. I'm like,
No worries. So we'll get started in a minute as soon as we get a few more people. And if not, I'll definitely keep everything on time.
all right.
Good morning, Tammy.
Good morning.
Carrie, what are you doing here?
Got some time to hang out.
Oh my gosh, I feel honored. So sorry we got crossed, but great to see you forever. How long you can stay on.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. First of all, thank you all so much for attending. There'll probably be some people that will jump on later, but I'll go ahead for the sake of time to make sure that I am respectful of that. So I'm going to get right into it and talk to you about a couple of cool things that are going on. Actually, let's just do this. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. So let me get started with this part. Okay, so today we're going to talk about leveraging communication. What we're going to do is, first of all, I'm going to talk a little bit about the current Smart Plan Challenge. And then I'm going to talk about creating opportunities or leveraging, leveling up your communication skills. And we're going to talk about what that means. But first of all, I want to share with you, especially since I got my 2 Maui peeps here so far. So the Smart Plan Challenge launched yesterday. It will go through November 1st through the 31st, or excuse me, 30th. And what that means is this. From yesterday or from today to the 30th, we are in an all-out war with the Wahoo as it pertains to which islands can create and send out the most smart plans for the month of November. You don't need to do anything. We will track all of that through the vital signs. However, what we are doing this challenge differently than last challenge is we're going to have weekly giveaways. And so the first weekly giveaway is actually going to be tomorrow for Maui, but that's just going to be in terms of everyone that currently is using smart plans. We're just going to do a cool little raffle. Next week is what we're getting ready for. So are you ready for next week's giveaway? If not, this is how you do it. So you want to add a smart plan, one that you don't already have. You can either create a custom smart plan and or go to the library, select one, edit it. Then you want to, I'm leading into the next one, edit it and test it. You test it to yourself, meaning send it to yourself, make sure that you and a personal email that's separate from your KW email is in command. Send it to yourself to test it, make sure it works, you know, all that good stuff. Then send it to at least 2 contacts. And then what I need you to do is screenshot your dashboard. So let me show you what I mean by that, because this is what I need to see. So I'm going to stop share for a minute and reshare. And I'm going to do my entire screen this time so I can manipulate easily. Okay, so can everybody see my command screen? Okay, so this is what I want you to do. The screenshot needs to capture, you see my avatar picture, my name, and then see what I'm looking for is this. I'm looking for the name of the smart plan. And in particular, I'm looking for, see where it says created? This created date is what I'm looking for. So 2 things, or actually 3 things. I'm looking for the created date, meaning from November 1st through the 6th, because you want to submit this in by the 6th or send me the screenshot by the 6th. And then I'm also number 2, I'm looking for the number of contacts. See how this one says 1 person, because I tested this on myself. So you'll need to have at least 2 there with the eyeball. And then the third thing I'm looking for is your name up here. So then you would just take a screenshot of all of this information and then send it or email it to me. Once you do that, you will be entered into a raffle. I am not going to tell you what the raffle is, other than I will tell you, hint, Big Island. That's all I'm saying. So questions about this, getting ready for week number 2's raffle. David, you had a question?
Yeah, so I sent out a smart plan that I created yesterday. I sent it out to a
That
bunch of
counts.
people. When
That
I look
counts.
at it, though, there's nobody under contacts. Is that
So
people that
what
look
you
at
want
it
to
and
do,
respond?
yeah, so what that means is it may not have registered. So it doesn't matter if they opened it or not, as long as you send it and your screen refreshes, that's what it's looking for, meaning that those are the people that you sent it to, so regardless if they opened it or not. So if you're not seeing that, get with me after this, or call me after this, or text me, and then we can see why that is not. Sometimes if you just refresh your screen, clear out your cookies or cache, then go back into command, you should see it. But if not, let me know.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but it sounds like you're already done. So we just need to work out why you're not seeing the contact number. And then from there, just do the screenshot and you'll be entered to win. Great question. Carrie, you want to add to anything that I missed, didn't cover?
No, I mean, well, I really think it's a great opportunity. One, there's over 900, I don't know, insert your Dragon Ball meme here, right? It's over 9,000. There are lots of templates in there already to take advantage of. And the reason why it's really getting some synergy and some fun because the holidays are coming up, right? And so there are going to be a handful of smart plans that you can go in and really leverage that communication with your database throughout Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's. And so it's all working together for you, and hopefully have some fun while we're helping you drive business.
Awesome. So again, get ready for week number 2. Add a smart plan, either create one from an existing library, edit, test it, send it to at least 2 people, email me the screenshot, and then you're entered to win. Hint is Big Island. David, you had your hand up again?
Yeah, are we doing a new smart plan every week to be entered in different weeks?
Different weeks will be different things. So this is going to be, this is the requirements for the entry for week number 2. Each
Cool.
week will have a different focus. So yes, great question. Yeah, each week will have a different focus. All right, so now we're going to get into, well, any other questions? I want to make sure I didn't miss anyone. Did I miss any other questions? No, I did not. Okay, so command fundamentals. Today, we're going to talk about the opportunity applet as it relates to leveraging communication skills. So this is a recap for those of you that participated in previous training. You know, the first one we did was around context. We called out specifically a couple of things. Number one, what is a brand? Does anyone remember what a brand was or is? Definition of a brand, or have your own personal definition of a brand? Anyone want to share?
It's what sets you aside from somebody else, what identifies you, what you promise to give to the client, goes along with your mission statement, right?
Yes, yes. So your brand loyalty is that journey of you communicating that and how well you're doing that. So there are different stages that we talked about. If you remember, we talked about the awareness, which is that initial contact with the potential client, the opportunity, that nurturing phase to work with them, and then that loyalty, making sure that they become raving fans. So we talked a little bit about that. We also talked about that brand promise, going back to what David mentioned in terms of what are you promising, and then what are you delivering? Because sometimes your promise is different from your deliverables. And we just want to make sure that they are in tandem, they're working together. Then we talked about the contact touch systems, i.e., you know, what do you do after the first meeting? Hopefully you have some sort of thank you or a script or a message that you're sending out in lieu of an introductory email. How are you defining those client needs? Nurturing the campaign, or excuse me, nurturing campaigns, and then social media postings, going back to how are you leveraging, communicating your brand consistently, and why you have the solution, i.e. Highlight video testimonials in terms of what you bring to the table, your experience, your professionalism. And then we also talked about marketing strategies, sell the outcome to get to the income. So again, sell the outcome to get to the income. Then the next time we talked about leveraging automated email. So this was smart plans. So we're still leveraging those smart plans in our challenge. So clients feel empowered to act when messages are customized to meet their specific needs. And so the clients feel most empowered. Remember, we talked about this, the importance and the ability to leverage or maximize email marketing, because that's the type of communication that they're going to most respond to, followed by text messaging and then social media posts. We tend to have it inverted from a business entrepreneurial perspective, because we sometimes focus a little more on social media and less on that personal contact that you create in emails, calls, and texts, and those kind of things. Then we also talked about selling power is using your communication skills. That includes, you know, your sales management, your strategies, your real estate knowledge to persuade clients to act or to work with you. So those are the 2 classes that we had. We're going to talk about today's class in a minute, but any questions or comments or ahas, oh me's about what we previously talked about? Or Carrie, you want to jump in and elaborate on anything? If not, we're good. Oh, go ahead, Carrie, sorry.
No, we're good. I hope through this series and ramping up, right? It is ramping up and talking about connecting, and hope you guys are finding some great wins as you guys put this into practice.
And one of the key things that Carrie mentioned that I want to piggyback on is connectivity. So hopefully you're seeing that there's one common theme, meaning that this is connected, it's all connected. So we're highlighting the connectivity in command and the connectivity and marketing and sales strategies that go hand in hand to make, at the end of the day, it's about maximizing you, maximizing your potential and catapulting you to whatever goals that you have set for yourself. So today we're going to talk about leveraging communication. And so these are the tips that we're going to talk about today. The first is ask, when you're thinking about communication, you want to think of an A to Z approach in terms of ask the communication style, meaning when you meet that client, when they decide that they're going to work with you, you are their agent of choice. You are their preferred agent. Do you have a sit down with them in terms of what is their communication style? How do they want to be communicated? Do they like text? Do they like email? Do they like calls? Whatever that is. And then the frequency. How often do they want you to connect with them? Having those conversations earlier will help minimize confusion later. And so one of the things that oftentimes coaches will ask you, and I know some of you have either have a coach now, have had a coach, or are eventually will be in coaching. And one of the things they talk about is some sort of onboarding survey with your clients. It doesn't necessarily have to be a true survey, or it can, but what are those questions that you ask every single time that you onboard your client so that everyone is clear about the expectations? And so as a realtor, I'm asking you, do you have an onboarding survey or some onboarding process for every client that you deal with? For those of you that have it, do you want to share a little bit about it and the success? Or those of you that don't have it, do you see the value of having something like this? And don't all speak at once because it gets so overwhelming. I can't focus.
So I don't have a survey, Latasha. I've got just a dialogue of papers that I go through. But I'm interested in seeing if somebody has a survey. They send out like a Survey Monkey kind of survey that goes out to new people that they could answer questions. That could be interesting. I love that technology side of it. That would be cool.
Yes. So yeah, so it could be a script. It could be, handwritten, smoke signals you send up, whatever it is. But yeah, I can definitely send some examples to everyone. Does anyone else that is currently having a survey of some sort, or if anyone has one, jump in and let me know. But I'm more than happy to send that. And it really, I will say this, it goes back to how you want to run your business. You may not necessarily want to do a full-fledged survey, but for those like David and others, that works. So they still have that onboarding, you will, verbally and in person, but maybe they have a follow-up in terms of asking them specific questions. So you have fun with this. I mean, some surveys you can ask them like, what's their favorite food? What's their favorite wine? Those kind of things to kind of break the ice and get to know them. So, it just really making sure that you customize however you're going to do it to meet you as the person and your personality. So that would be the final takeaway that I would say on that. The second thing is set your communication rules and expectations for both the buy and list side, meaning there are going to be certain communication rules and or expectations that are unique to the buyer side, and then some that are unique to the seller side. Examples for this would be, an easy example are, what are your working days and hours? And do you clearly communicate that to your clients? And the bonus question, how consistent are you? So setting those parameters in terms of when I work, when I don't work, so that everybody is clear about, when you're going to work or when you're going to respond. The other thing is, what does the client do in an emergency? And then most importantly, what is an emergency? We all know this, my emergency may not be your emergency. So, qualifying what an emergency is, what does that mean for both of us, getting on the same page about that definition, and then what do we do in that case? So making sure that you clearly set those boundaries and expectations, because what you want to do at the end of the day, you want to make this transaction smooth. You want to make sure the communication is flawless. It's a two-way conversation, not a one-way conversation, because the one-way conversation gets everyone in trouble at some point in time. So you want to make sure that it's always a two-way conversation. It's always a step back and reflect if need be, retool, rethink, and like, okay, let's move forward. I'm going to stop talking about that part. Questions. What are some expectations that you've seen that you were thinking, but it wasn't necessarily communicated and it created a little tension? Everybody's good? Everybody set their expectations, never had any issues? No? Okay. 3, provide some sort of electronic or hard copy contact sheet or card. This includes companies, organizations and agents involved in that the client will need to have. So basically, it's just kind of like a cheat sheet. Like if you're, if you're representing the buyer, what are those important numbers that the buyer needs to have at the ready? Creating some little, contact card or, laminated card that you give out that's, very generic or whatever it is, or you could be, emailed, it could be whatever. You could, email them the contact cards or whatever, but something to where you go that extra mile to make sure that when your client needs whatever it is, you have that resource ready for them. What do you think this does when you're doing 1, 2, and 3 consistently? What does that do? I'm gonna pick on someone. Mark, are you with us, Mark?
I'm here.
So I'm gonna pick on you. Hopefully it's okay. I'm not picking on you. I love you. So when you are doing all 1 through 3 so far at a higher level, what do you think? What's the advantage of doing that?
Consistency. Just so 1, 2, 3. Advantage of connecting with the client how they want to be connected with it. Are you turning them on or turning them off? That's
That's a great question. Yeah. So you just
Right.
want to make sure that you're definitely doing the things that you want them to do to keep them engaged, to keep them, basically the bottom line is you want to show to them that you are on your game, you're professional, you're walking them through, you're more than capable of handling any, scenario that comes up. That does not mean that you may not need to go back and research some things or find a solution, but just presenting that professional, polished, I am your real estate resource. I can help you. So just making sure that it's about credibility, establishing yourself as credibility. Some of the agents that have been in the business, they have that going for them, but some of the newer agents, they need to establish that credibility. How you establish that? By doing these types of things consistently.
And if you're my goal is to under promise and over deliver, and if I tell my people that that's what my goal is, and that's the reason why, these are when I can be reached and how to reach me. And if you need me immediately, don't send an email because I check my email 3 times a day. And that's what I do. And your email's not going to get responded to immediately. However, if you need an immediate response, send me a text message. And that's the way I do it. And,
Right.
and letting them know what the rules are up front. Everybody's playing by the same rules. So that's very, very important.
Yes. Thanks so much. But yes, definitely. And it's just about making sure that you set those expectations and make sure that you not only set them, but everyone agrees to them. So then what we want to get into now is how do you do this consistently? There are a myriad of ways in which you can track and manage communication. You can use it in any form of real estate transaction management software, commands, SkySlope, DocuSign, whatever it is, you sign, we sign, they sign, whatever you want to use, as long as it's a real thing and not made up. But the gist of it is making sure that you leverage some sort of software, some sort of system, back-end system to keep you organized, keep you on top of the transaction. So you are, in a sense, 2 or 3 steps ahead of your client. So you're guiding them through the process. So let's take a look at a couple of things. Yeah. I want to show you a quick little video, but any comments or questions as of now? So this is command, and it's talking about opportunity stages and checklists. And if you haven't watched this, this is good because we're going to get into this in just a minute.
In this video, we're going to go over opportunities and how to create your checklist, edit your stages, and truly customize this opportunities system to really work your transactions as best you can. So I came here under the KW to opportunities, and I'm already here under listings, buyers, and leases. So today I can look at any one of these, what we call phases. And if I click on one, like let's say active, this is going to show me the phase up above, which you can't change the name for that, but everything else underneath is called a stage, and that you can totally customize. So mine already looks different than yours because I have customized this to already meet my needs. So what I love about that is you can come here to edit stages, and in here you now have the ability to rename anything or add a stage. So I wanted to do pre-listing because to me it's not active unless it's really in the MLS, but I can go from signing our contracts. So the pre-listing stage, what are the things I need to have done in this? And I can come here to the checklist and add items. So I want to make sure we signed our contract and it's executed. I want to make sure that I've collected the seller's disclosure. I don't want to forget that. I want to schedule a stager if that's something that I do often. I want to make sure I order the yard sign and have it put in the yard, and then I confirm the best method of contact. Those are the things that I want. You have the ability to say add item and put whatever you need here. And you can also come to the three dots and edit or delete any of these as well. So I love the fact that you can customize this. Once you've done it, every opportunity will have this checklist from now on. You also have the ability to check a little button for client update, which means once you're setting up your client update settings, like daily or weekly, give the client updates, this will add to the checklist. So my clients will get an email saying, Jay has ordered your sign and it's already in the yard. And they'll know all the tasks I've done. So you have the ability to kind of edit these. I can add a stage here. So I did photography. I believe this used to say staging because I really wanted to focus on photography. And for me, that's scheduling the photographer, verifying the photos, and then making sure the photos are in the MLS. So I can't complete the actual listing and have it enter in the MLS unless I've done the photography first. Same thing with enter the stage. You get the idea. You have the ability to add stages, edit stages, reorder the stage if you want to rearrange when things are. It is totally customizable. You do this once, and now every time I add somebody to an active stage, so if I move this card to the pre-listing or move it to photography, right here I've got my checklist. So did I schedule my photographer yet? Check. This will now email the client to say, hey, we've scheduled the photographer. I can also set a due date. So this was due, maybe it was yesterday. Hit OK. Close, and now I'm actually accomplishing what's on my checklist. I still have 2 other things to do, and they're due by a specific date. So each time I do an opportunity, I have the ability to come in here and check things off, set my due dates, and then I will be able to see them as well. This works the same whether it is a buyer or seller. You can also sort now by opportunity name, commission, closing date. You have the ability to edit your stages, go between the different ones, under contract, closed. You're going to come to each one of these. So under contract, edit stages. What are you going to have under contract? I want to make sure we've got our escrow. Do I have the checklist items to make sure that the funds are clear? Did I schedule my inspection? Did I do my appraisal? Financing? Are we clear to close? And I have the ability to add each of the items I want to make sure that we do for here, like clear to close. I'm going to make sure we did schedule, final, walkthrough. I want the client to be updated about that. Hit save. There we go. Now that is one of the options. Come back. So you're going to do that for each one of these phases at the top. You're going to click edit stages for those. Same thing with the buyers. So I'll show you the active buyers. I've got searching for the home, showing the home, bank, which would be financing, negotiations. Legacy, if you see this, is for dot loop. If you bring anything over from dot loop, it puts it in the legacy bucket. And then I have the ability again to edit stages and customize this as well. So that's how you edit stages, customize this, give the client updates. You can click the little gear here as well to go over to the settings for this. So the settings are going to be at a specific time, sent from you, sent to the client only, or if there's a co-client, you can send them to both of them. or just the primary client. If you're part of a team, you'd have the ability to say, also send it to the owner, other stuff. And that's going to be the settings. And every day they will get an email about the updates. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, follow me on KW Connect and YouTube today. It puts it in the legacy bucket. To the settings for this. So the settings, anything over from .loop,
All right, so I know he went super fast, but essentially what the takeaway is that all of the communication that we just talked about, meaning that your A to Z communication throughout that transaction, you can set up your command to be automated to have those series of checklist items. Where do you get those checklist items? If I can talk correctly, checklist items. You can get them from Carrie. You can get them from me. You can get them from anyone as long as they're an MCTT. So, no, I'm just kidding. But it's true. Sorry, I'm singing. But I can send you one of the key ones that I use, and Carrie, you can jump in terms of which ones you prefer. But the one that I have had the most traction on, the one that I've had most agents respond positively, is the one from George Kelly. So George Kelly is a high producing agent within KW that is using command only as his primary CRM, client resource management. And so I have a copy of both his buyer side and his listing side. And so Carrie, I did make you a co-host. Do you have, or can you share your screen? I could stop share, but what I would love to do, I know I have it up, but I also want to have you jump in if you can, and just show your screen and show them kind of what your checklist look like. And then what I want to do is walk them through number one, the design template part of it, which the last part of the video highlighted the settings part of it, and then just showing them samples of the checklist. The one thing I'll say, and then I'll turn it over to Carrie, is this. All of the phases that you cannot change and the stages are based on our real estate KW Bible, the MREA. And so it's based off of all of the data behind that book. And so Gary Keller created those stages from that and from his history in real estate to say that no matter what side you're representing, whether the buyer or the listing side, there are certain phases that never change in terms of whether you're on the buyer side or the listing side. So I'm gonna turn it over to Carrie. He's gonna show you his screen, and then we're gonna take some questions and go from there.
Oh, so actually, we started off before George Kelly did his thing. We had a more simpler one. Because if you are familiar with the George Kelly one, it literally says like there are different items where it says, hey, phone the attorney or do this. The main thing is that it's a framework for you to then build from and recognize what you want to do and what is your expectation and what you can edit out and don't want, right? And so it does give lots of options. I love Jay Cermak's one where it was really condensed, and it says even like, hey, prep to SRPDS, like way up front on the listing side. Imagine how huge that is. And so basically just like they did and said is that you can go to each stage and phase. And the default one that we had, it even kind of just says each step says do or print, hey, print the buyer discussion topics, print the buyer consult and have them ready prior to you going to your consult. Do call to confirm, right? And then whether or not it's an action that's done in command. And so it's a little bit different than the George Kelly one. And I would say kind of like the contacts and the smart plans, and you might have heard me say it before, is the main thing is just to get started, right? George Kelly or this basic one, put it in, see how you like it, and make your updates as you go, because it's going to be that paralysis by analysis. There's so many options, but it's to you as the business owner, what you find the most helpful. So in my cultivate, email, refer to lender partners, call to identify search criteria, and the email to send a call to action. And so mine is like super simple. Under contract, there would be probably the most items where you're doing your inspections, schedule, Homekeeper. I don't necessarily use Homekeeper myself, but call to congratulate the buyer for opening escrow, and it's due, obtain, and deposit earnest money, email, right? And so this is going to take the guesswork out of what you're doing on a daily basis. And like keywords for me, it's consistent, repeatable activity. That is going to lead to success. And it always, right? 2 times 2 always equals 4 at the end of the day. So if you can find what works for you and put them in and ask away, like ask Latasha, email, call me an email. If we can help you solidify what this looks like for you, we'd love to help.
And could you do me a favor, Carrie, while you have that up, could you show them the client update in terms of the setting wheel, and then also show them the other way that they can also access the client update in terms of what it looks like?
Yes, ma'am. So you are in each, it's one thing to have it set, right? But when you are in each appointment or opportunity card, you can see where it's off. You've got to really toggle that and make sure that it's on. Right? So each opportunity you're giving permission to kind of go, hey, I have this communication. I want to make sure I toggle that and make sure that it's on. Okay, that'll kind of activate that automatic email that goes out when you select it. And then the main thing to do is make sure that you know where to go inside of your settings. And of course, integrations, where we're going to go to opportunity settings and then make sure you hit your client update. And here's the back end where you can kind of make sure that this is set. And like Jay Cermak walked through on his video, send from the owner, sending it to who, and then the assignees and who's it. If you wanted to CC yourself on it, would always be a good best practice.
And then one quick thing I want to highlight, if you are on a team, just like Kerry has up here, he's got his success team here, and then he's got his solo agent, Kerry, sorry. I'm giving you a new name. So just make sure that, if you are on a team, just making sure you toggle appropriately between the profiles, just so you're making sure that you are where you're supposed to be in terms of when you elect to utilize checklists and timelines.
And then last thing, I think phases, and going back to phases and stages. And again, don't get caught up too much in the analysis by paralysis, but especially in that under contract section, you can make it as detailed with the checklist or create that stage to kind of click and drag. I've seen different variations. I've seen large teams do different things as well. The simpler for me, the simpler you can make your stages, then that's less click and dragging, right? And you just want to, we had, and I've seen the team that I was on, we had inspections, and during this period, you're making that checklist item. Hey, J1 did this, and here's this. Instead of we went from everything being a different stage, and it got really cumbersome, right? So consolidate that, make it a checklist item instead, and then finding a lot of success that way.
So Carrie, if I may ask, I know you've got the J version, the shortened version. If you don't mind sending that to me, and then what I'll do is everyone that's on the call today, I'll send them both versions, and then that way they can decide which one they want to start or leverage as it relates to taking a look at both of them, seeing which one fits them more, and then they can still tweak it even more, to allow it to work for them.
Absolutely.
comments or questions? I think for a while, there had been a lot of people that was not aware that Command could do this. And so we just wanted to circle back this in this training to make sure that we covered this again, to make sure that the capability is there, and you can communicate A through Z throughout the entire life cycle of the transaction to make sure that you are making sure that everything is covered. But the most important thing, going back to what Carrie said earlier, I said previously, it's about consistency, making sure that you consistently do the same thing every time, because what that does is it shows your client how professional you are and on track you are. But in addition to that, it also shows them that you care about and you're passionate about being that professional. And you then create that raving fan in terms of then if the loyalty is strong, because they know every time I work with David, he's on top of it. I get these emails, he does, a lot of customizing for me. He keeps me on track of what's going on. That's what I love about working with David. So that's what you want to have people say, he's on top of his game or she's on top of her game. And so this allows you for free to leverage that and to utilize it to work for you. So comments or questions?
I think that's a great testimonial for me to cut that clip out of this training video and put it on my website. So thank you, Latasha.
Anything I could do. Anything I could do.
Yeah, Rochelle showed this to me last week on how Command can do that, but I didn't know about the client update part. So that's huge for me, because I do like to be able to click the button and the client gets the email that this is done, so they know that I'm actually doing something, staying on top of it. It's also a great way to show the client how many different touches you have in a transaction. It helps justify your commission too. So I think it's brilliant. Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly. And then it just goes back to, however you're onboarding that person in terms of how often do they want to be, communicated with. So then depending on what they say, whether you ask them that, one-on-one or it's in a survey or whatever it is, then you can mirror that in that client update. So however they told you how often they want updates, then you set it based on what they told you in the beginning. So anyone else that's utilizing this checklist system, any comments or feedback? Jim, what about you? Have you used this, or did you know that this existed, both either just the checklist in general and or the client update?
Haven't really gotten into it too much yet, so I'm just trying to get a game plan here.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we can always help, as Carrie mentioned, either myself or he is available to help in any way. And again, the biggest takeaway that I would say is just make sure that whatever you decide to do, that you leverage what works for you. So you can take a look at both of them. I'll get those out within 24 hours. And we can talk about, how that looks like and what it looks like for you. Any high level questions, other comments about today's training? Any feedback? Was it informative, good? Give you something to think about?
Fantastic.
Or give you another shoe to throw at me or Carrie? All right, well, thanks so much. Carrie, do you have anything else? Otherwise, we're out a little early today. So we'll wrap up and we'll see you in a month from now. That will be December. So December, we got a special surprise for you in December. But a couple of things I'll say, and well, let me back up. Carrie, anything else you want to add?
Oh, I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Remember, get ready for week number 2's raffle. So make sure that you create a smart plan. It has to have the created date of either November 1st through the 6th. Get it to me by the 6th. And then add, edit, test, send, screenshot. Make sure that screenshot has your name, that black horizontal toolbar at the top. And what I'm looking for is your name, the date it was created, and at least 2 contacts that it's sent out to. So don't forget to do that so you can be entered to win. And then David, connect with me later to make sure that you can see the contacts.
Will do. Thank you.
Okay, aloha for now.
Thank
Okay,
you.
guys.
Hi, guys.